So this is the thing here. It's called the Airhawk Pro, and I got this at Mitre 10 for a really cheap price. I think it was about $18, $15, $20, something like that. Probably about $15 US. And they had a huge pallet of them, maybe even 2 pallets, I think. And they were just trying to get rid of them, and I thought, oh, that's not a very good sign. And it says on here, as seen on TV or something like that. I wouldn't know because I haven't watched TV for probably 20 years or something like that. But I seem to recall that the stuff that they sold on these infomercial things on TV were kind of rubbish. So even as I bought it, I thought I'm probably wasting my money. But turns out to be okay for the purpose that it was made for, which was pumping up tyres. It's a little bit slow for pumping up car tyres. I gave it a try and it worked. And the tyre that I was pumping up was already almost pumped up anyway, so that was quite satisfactory for me. For bicycle tyres, it's really good. It's quite quick for those, of course. But anyway, what I was quite pleased to find out was that you get a bunch of useful things, chief among which is 3 18650 batteries in here. So this is just a 3S lithium-ion battery. Can we focus there? So they're probably not very good 18650s. It says they're INR 18650, 11.1 volts DC, 1500 milliamp hours. So I thought, well, that's all right for $15. I mean, you know, I don't know how much those cost, but I mean, to get that for $15 plus, there's this in there as well, which seems to have foam dust on it for some reason. This is a 12.6 volt, 500 milliamp hour DC, AC to DC power adapter, so that's always kind of handy to have around for various other projects and stuff. And you also get one of these, which is a thing that you use to power stuff off your car cigarette lighter. So this is just a stand-in for if you're actually out somewhere trying to pump up your car tires, I suppose. And then we can see a little dial here, which, wow, that's quite hard to show. There we go. You can press up and down on here. So it actually says PSI there in the top right corner. Oh, there you go. And it'll show what you set it to for a brief moment, and then it'll go back to 0 to show you what the pressure is that it's measuring. So it's actually measuring pressure. There's a feedback from the chamber that goes, or the chamber that would be inside the tube here, goes back to here. I'll show you in a minute. And there's a pressure sensor in there. I've already broken that when I was pulling it apart before just to see what was in there. So that's always going to read 0. And whenever I turn it on, it's just going to stay on forever. And when I push my thumb up here to try and seal it, nothing much will happen because there's a hole open going back that way. There's just 3 cells. I think they might be hot glued down there perhaps. So in here we have one of those DC motors, brushed motors that you have in your radio controlled car. Down here we have a relay and not too much else. Then these come up here to power this little controller box thing. And you can probably see in the top there's, I think on the back of that whiteboard there would have been a pressure sensor, or there is, but I mean, I broke it off there. So this nozzle here was connected to that nozzle down inside there, and that just sort of goes through into the front, and it's directly connected to this. Anyway, that cog here spins this, and that just plunges that piston in and out of the cylinder. Plastic bit that comes off like that, and then there's a connecting channel that goes, well, it's actually in the steel as well, so that goes back to the pressure sensor there. And then there's a little spring with a rubber, maybe silicone piece on it, and then there's just a hole there. Now I've seen some other very similar pumps like this on YouTube, and they have a second hole right about here where my little finger is, and that's the inlet for the air to get in, and there's a valve on the other side of that one, probably something like this. So the question is, where does the air get into the cylinder to be pushed out from here? Well, I looked all around, and the only thing I could think of was that it must be getting in from the back of the piston somehow. And it turns out that is actually how it works. And if I take this piece off, we can see in the front of the piston, if I push this all the way, you can see this thing here is a little diaphragm, a little round bit in the middle. I don't want to pull it too much, but you can just sort of lift it a little bit. But the point is, there's no convenient hole or nozzle to just stick a tube on and get the ingoing air to neatly sort of come out in a convenient usable hole for us. So what I've decided to do is try enclosing this whole thing in a Tupperware container, which will be airtight, and then block off this so that there's only one channel for the air to come out, which is going to be that nozzle there. And I'll put a little tube on this that comes to the outside of the Tupperware. So that's going to pump the air out of the Tupperware, right? So then we have another hole that comes into the Tupperware from the vacuum bag. To block off this outlet here, I'm going to use this because it has some fairly decent looking seals inside there, and this was originally supposed to seal up to the tyre pressure or whatever they claim it was supposed to do. They don't make any claims. I see. Anyway, so I'm going to use this, and I'm just going to put some epoxy in here. The first thing I want to do is make sure that this idea is going to work at all. So I'm just going to set up a very simple circuit. So it's just going to be the motor and the battery with a switch in between them. It's quite a nice switch, this one. It's not a momentary switch. It's on, and it stays on, that kind of switch. On the battery, which was actually not very securely stuck into the housing, on here we have a barrel jack. So I'm going to try and salvage that for future projects. The idea is that you plug this 12.6 volts DC coming from this adapter directly into the battery. There's no other circuitry or anything in there. That doesn't seem right, does it? I seem to recall spending quite a bit of money on a special battery charger for my lithium batteries, and here they have you just sort of plugging this straight into the battery. The most you're going to get out of it is 500 milliamps, so maybe they're assuming that that's going to be fine, but it's a bit how you going, as Dave would say. So that's the LCD display, a barometer which looks like either a BMP 180 or a BMP 280 maybe, and that was in here, and it screws on there actually, so you can, I didn't have to break this to get it off, you can just unscrew it. So it's quite a nice little barometer house. And there was also an LED in there, which I forgot to mention, and that just shines out the front of here so that you can see what the hell you're doing in the dark when you're trying to pump up your tyres. So it's quite a veritable treasure trove of parts, this thing altogether. This, I don't think I'm going to make much use of this. There's a relay in there. I'm probably going to have to break this to get it out, but I have a bunch of relays anyway, and I'll probably just throw this away, I think. Okay, I have my simple circuit here now. I left this barrel jack thing connected to that so I can charge it just using the janky way that they do it with the AC adapter, and it's just a simple switch to do that. And I found this, it's one of these ones that has nice seals inside the lid like that. The reason that I wanted to use this smaller nozzle at the back and block off the front one is because it fits quite nicely on this garden sprinkler hose that I have quite a lot of. And I also have some of these fittings, one of which is a tap. So I'm hoping that this will be as good for air as it is for water. Okay, I've put all the connections where I want them to be, at least for this first test, and I've sealed up the holes in the top that I made. And so far the performance is pretty disappointing. I mean, it runs fine and air is coming out here at quite a rate of knots. This is the exit. But I can't feel any discernible vacuum when I put my thumb over here. Whoops. And I don't want to do that too much now anyway, because this connection here is very soft, and I'm just waiting for this silicone to dry. It's probably going to take quite a while, like 24 hours I think, to even get close to a proper dry. But it could perhaps be that there's still plenty of air inside, and it takes quite a while to pump this air out to the point where you can sort of tell that there's anything vacuuming going on at this end. So I'll just leave it like this until tomorrow and come back and give it another check and see how it goes. I put it on this little couple of bits of foam here because if you don't, it sort of wanders around like a washing machine, and that's not cool. Anyway, see you tomorrow. Okay, it's the next day now. The silicone on here has dried quite nicely for these two. I mean, it's nice and solid. This one, unfortunately, seems to be a bit wobbly, so it's not really ideal for a long-term thing, but just for now to give it a try, it seems to be doing okay. I just have to not bump it. And I put a little plastic bag on here to see if anything was happening, because it's still impossible to feel anything just by holding your finger over the inlet pipe. But if I run this for a while, we'll see that the bag is going down. Probably a leak around here. I just sealed this to the hose with a zip tie, so it's not very good. Okay, I've done away with the plastic bag because while it might have been interesting to look at as a rough visual indicator to see that something was actually happening, it's not a good way to measure absolute pressure to see how well the seals are all performing and what sort of a vacuum this thing can actually pull eventually. So what I've done is I have a Arduino Pro Mini in here with a barometer, and that's showing us a pressure readout from inside the Tupperware. It seems to be a little bit hard to focus through this lid for some reason, but I'm sure you can, whoops, see what I mean? Well, I'm sure you can read there, 1008 millibars, so 1 atmosphere at the moment. And on the end of the hose here, I just have one of those little taps, and it's open at the moment. And what I discovered is that the seal around the outside of the Tupperware actually doesn't work that well. So what I have to do, when I start off, I just have to press it down like that so that it seals well. And then once the vacuum starts to form, the vacuum will keep it pressed down for me, so I don't need to hold it down the whole time. And I just tried that for a few seconds before, and I saw it go down to about 600 or so, which is a good sign. And then I opened the tap, and it went like that as the air came out. So let's have a look at that. The tap is actually open at the moment. Let me close that. That should be closed there. So until I press on the lid, this is all we get. Now watch what happens when I press on it. Ooh. Oh, something's leaking there. Oh, that's leaking pretty bad. It didn't do that before. I think it might be because I turned the tap the other way this time. Well, that's useless. Well, that didn't do anything. Oh, I wonder if I've broken this here now. Come on. Oh, well, at least with this meter here, we can clearly see when something's working and when it's not. So this is quite helpful. Let me just see if I can seal this up properly and show you that again. Well, after much frustration, I finally figured out what's going on. There's a hole over here, just there where my thumb is. It's a bit hard to focus on for some reason again. There we go. And this hole, I guess, was being drilled by the motor shaft there. So there's a bit of the motor shaft sticking out where the fan was. I took that off, obviously, because it's just going to whack into the side of the walls, and there's no point having a fan in there if there's a vacuum anyway. So now I have to seal this hole up and try and make sure it doesn't happen again. Okay, we're back in business. Unfortunately, in my investigations trying to figure out what was wrong, I pulled this tube out because I was suspicious that it wasn't sealing properly, but I think it was actually okay. So I've just sealed that off with sellotape, which seems to seal fairly well. And hopefully... Okay. Oh. Now if I push this down, you can see it's reasonably well held. There's still a leak, obviously, but I can now give you the hissing sound that I was going to try and do before, but with the sellotape this time. Okay, so just before I finish up, I will see what the maximum vacuum I can get from this thing is. I don't like the way that Arduino light's turning off and on. Where's that? See that? It's turning off and on. What the hell? Anyway, let's just run it and see what the maximum we can get is with this crappy system here. Hopefully we don't drill another hole in the side. Whoa. Wow. Well, it obviously didn't hold, and I think I know why now. The walls of this container just got crushed right in like that on all sides. And I think what happened there was when the walls of the container are no longer straight up and down, the seals here are compromised. So as soon as the walls went in like that, it started to leak. So obviously this particular container is not going to do the job that I want. However, the idea of putting one of these things inside a container like this and using it as a vacuum pump seems to be okay. It's a bit wacky, but I mean, I think I'll pursue it a little bit further, maybe with some sort of a metal container perhaps that's not going to crush in like that so much, and tidy up these connections and everything. But anyway, I think I'll just finish this video here. I will pursue this a little bit further and improve it, but for now that's going to be the end of this video. Thank you for watching. Hope it was entertaining. See you next time.